So for years, I believed everything society told me about men, marriage, and femininity. In fact, these 5 lies were so powerful that I ended up becoming the husband in my previous marriage and completely ended up extremely depressed, stressed out, and traumatized myself and my ex-husband by living these lies out. And if you're a woman who wants marriage, children, and a provider, protector husband, some of these beliefs may be sabotaging you too. I'm Crystal. I'm a relationship coach for women, and I teach women how to attract a provider, protector husband using neuroscience and biblical principles so that you can get married and stay married. Here are my credentials. Welcome to Amor de Luna. So line number 1, prioritize your career, business, and independence before finding a husband or starting a family. Now, the first lie society taught me was to prioritize my career, my business, and my independence before finding a husband or starting a family. I was taught to spend my 20s focusing on education, building a career, becoming independent, and making sure I never needed a man. And honestly, I bought into that completely. I went to school, got my bachelor's degree. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Even as a child, I knew I wanted to own something. I never liked the idea of someone telling me what to do, when to clock in and out, when I could take a vacation, how to spend my time. So wanting a business wasn't the problem. The problem was the message attached to it. It was prioritize your independence. Prioritize yourself, because a husband is eventually going to take away your power. He's going to expect you to sacrifice your dreams for his. He's going to leave you with nothing. He's going to cheat on you. He's going to abandon you. So protect yourself. I was taught to put everything in my name. A house, the car, the business, everything. And I was taught this because if a man leaves, at least you'll still have something. Looking back, I realized how much fear was driving my decisions. I was expecting disappointment before it ever happened, and I was preparing for betrayal before there was any betrayal happening. And I carried that mentally right into my first marriage. I got married for the wrong reasons, for one, and both of us played a role in that. But when I got married, I took on the role of a husband. I was paying the bills. I was providing. I was protecting. I worked 2 jobs. I was in college and I started a business, and I was married, and I also put everything in my name that I could. And I had a secret stash of money that my husband didn't know about. Why? Because if he ever did decide to leave, I wanted money on the side. I wanted the ability to leave whenever I wanted. Maybe he'd hear from me. Maybe he'd never hear from me ever again. That was my mentality. Protect me. Protect my power. Protect my independence, my control. And the crazy thing is that I needed and wanted a provider and protector husband, but I wasn't leaving any room for one. And at one point, I even convinced my ex-husband that if we ever did have children, he could be a stay-at-home dad while I worked and provided. And he agreed. Looking back now, I'm like, what was I thinking? I always wanted children. I've always wanted to be a mother. But eventually I realized I didn't want children in that marriage. Not because he was a terrible person, but because I couldn't relax. I couldn't count on him. I couldn't look at him and honestly say, my son could become a man like him, or I'd want my daughter to marry someone like him. So I chose not to have children. What I realize now is that society tells women to focus entirely on careers and independence while treating marriage and family like something you could figure out later. But women don't have unlimited time. We do have a biological clock, and even research from American College of Obstetricians, Gynecologists, shows that female fertility gradually declines with age and becomes more significant after the age of 35. It's biology. Can women have children in their 30s and their 40s? Absolutely. But if marriage and children are something you truly want, don't spend your entire 20s, your most fertile years, acting like those goals don't matter. Even Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. If marriage and family are important to you, prepare for those too. Get educated on what to look for in a husband. Learn how to date intentionally. Learn what makes a healthy marriage, because jobs will always be there. School will always be there. You can start a business at any point in time, but fertility comes with a timeline. And for me, I'm 30 now. My husband and I are preparing to start a family. I am in my second marriage, and if I could go back and tell my younger self one thing, it would be this. If marriage and family are your goals, don't treat them like an afterthought. Really make informed decisions. Line number 2, men and women are the same. Women need to fight for equality with men. This second line taught me was that men and women are the same and we're oppressed. Let me be clear, I am an ex-feminist. And not just a little bit. I genuinely believed women were smarter, more capable, more needed, and that men were the problem. I believe women were oppressed, that we needed to fight for more rights. I believe that women deserved more pay because we were the ones who gave life and had menstrual every month. I believe that society would be further ahead if women were in charge. And honestly, I thought men were stupid. That's genuinely how I thought. I thought women were God's gift to the earth and men just got in the way. And because I believed that, I was constantly challenging men, questioning them, competing with them, trying to prove that I was smarter than them, trying to prove that women don't need men. And then I wondered why. I attracted a feminine man, had friends that were feminine men. One of the biggest moments that challenged my thinking happened in college, actually. I was sitting in a class and we were all talking about equality, right? The professor asked, do women deserve more equality? And of course I raised my hand. Almost every woman did. Then the professor asked, okay, if women and men are equal in every way, should women also be drafted into war? And I raised my hand. Now, I was the only woman in the room. Everybody else immediately started explaining why women were different, why women shouldn't have to go, why women shouldn't be drafted, why it wasn't fair. And I remember sitting there thinking, wait, now we're different? Now we want to acknowledge that men and women aren't the same? If you're going to be about it, be about it. And it was one of the first moments that made me stop and really think, because if we're going to argue for equality in every area, then why wouldn't we include their responsibilities too? Like serving our country, the risks, the sacrifices. And that moment stayed with me. And over time, especially through mentors, research, life experience, and honestly, my husband, I started realizing that men and women are not the same, and we shouldn't be. And the Bible teaches that men and women are equal in value. Genesis 1:27 says that God created mankind in his image, male and female. Equal value, equal worth, but different. And science supports that too. Obviously, men and women are physically different, but we're also different hormonally, emotionally, neurologically, different in how we approach risks, communicate, our strengths, you name it. It doesn't make one better than the other, though. It does make us differently. And honestly, now that I look back and think about how disrespectful my beliefs were and my actions, there were women, especially the oppression thing. There are women all over the world who are actually oppressed. Women in places like Iran who have no rights, who are forced into marriages, women who genuinely don't have the freedoms we have here. And meanwhile, I was sitting here in America saying, I'm oppressed because men existed. That's crazy. It's disrespectful to women who are actually suffering. And it's also disrespectful to men because while I was busy saying men weren't needed, men were building the world around me, who's climbing electrical poles during storms? Who's working on oil rigs? Who's installing roofs in extreme heat? Who's taking on many of the dangerous jobs, welders, oil rigs, and kept society functioning? Men. Not because they're better, but because many men genuinely have the desire to provide and protect. And yet society constantly tells women, men are stupid, men are useless, men aren't needed. Look at the music today. Sabrina Carpenter talks about it all the time. Look at the movies, look at social media. Look at the messaging. Men are either portrayed as idiots, predators, or obstacles. And I believed it. And then I started paying attention to reality. Men I didn't even know were opening doors for me, helping me carry things. looking out for me. Not because they wanted something from me, simply because I was a woman and they wanted to help. And I started realizing that maybe I had been completely dismissing what men contribute. And at the same time, I had also been dismissing what women contribute too, because in trying to be equal to men, I was ignoring women's strengths. Women are incredible at creating connection, for one, right? Women are often the emotional temperature of the household. I mean, think about it. How many times have you heard someone say, Mom was the glue that held the family together? That's real. Women notice things. We are natural nurturers. We create beauty. We create connection, make little things so special, make people feel seen, and our intuition, incredible. When separated from fear and emotional reactivity, our intuition can be unbelievably accurate. Those are strengths, not weaknesses. And we also are the only gender capable of carrying and sustaining life. That makes us precious. That is incredible. But even then, we can't do it alone. The man contributes too. The placenta itself comes from the father's genetic material. Even in pregnancy, men are contributing to growth and protection of the child. Yet somehow, we have convinced ourselves that men are just unnecessary. That makes no sense. The more I embraced the idea that men and women were the same, the more exhausted I became, because I was trying to compete with men instead of operating my own strengths. And the more that I competed with men, the more I pushed away the exact type of man that I really wanted and needed at the time. The provider, protector, the leader, because those men don't want to compete with their wives constantly. They want to build with their wives. They want someone to complement them, not compete with them. They want to protect and provide for the family they're creating together. I attracted a man that wanted me to lead, who wanted me to provide and wanted me to pay for everything. Wanted me to carry the masculine burden, and I was exhausted. And the biggest lesson I learned is this: men and women do not have to be the same to be equal. Equal value does not require sameness. And the moment I stopped competing with men and started appreciating the differences between us, my entire perspective on dating, marriage, and femininity began to change. Line number 3, marriage benefits men more than women. This third lie society taught me, I genuinely believed. Growing up, I pictured myself getting married one day, okay? I pictured myself having children, but I didn't actually picture myself being a wife. Like the whole cooking, cleaning, serving, supporting my husband, staying home with the children, none of that appealed to me. Finding a man who loved me forever? Absolutely. Having a husband who was obsessed with me and devoted to me? Of course. Actually serving on him, though? No. Looking back, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. Because I wanted all the benefits of marriage without really understanding what marriage was. I genuinely thought marriage was a bad deal for women. I thought women got trapped. I thought women gave up their dreams. I thought women ended up doing all the work and they got stuck raising the kids if divorce happened. I grew up with a single mother, so my view of men was already shaped by that experience alone, and I honestly believe that men didn't really want to take care of their children. I thought if a marriage ended, the woman would automatically be left carrying absolutely everything, and because I always wanted children, part of me thought, well, if I'm going to end up doing everything anyway, maybe I should just be a single mom. Like, I want to be a mom. And at one point, I genuinely thought being a single mother might be easier than finding a man who was actually good enough to marry, which is wild to think about now. Because I literally believed I could be both mother and father, and I believed that I could do the job better anyways. But then my mentors started challenging that belief. And one of the biggest things I learned was that a healthy provider, protector man, they're not looking for a servant. They're looking for a partner. They're looking for a family. They're looking for a woman they can build with. And when a man genuinely wants to protect and provide, he's usually very family oriented. He usually is very committed and very invested in creating a great life for his wife and his children. Now that completely changed that completely challenged my view of marriage, because I had been taught that marriage was all sacrifice for the woman and benefit for the man. But healthy marriage isn't one person serving while the other person just takes. Healthy marriage is mutual serving on each other. Ephesians 5:25 says, "Husbands, loves your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her." That's sacrifice. That's responsibility and leadership. It's not oppression. And honestly, this is where my mindset started changing, because I used to say things like, why would I learn to cook? I'll just hire somebody. I don't need to learn that. I genuinely thought learning how to cook was beneath me. And I thought it was weak. I thought it was old-fashioned. But now I've been learning traditional Mexican recipes from my husband's mom, not because my husband demands it from me, not because he expects it, but because I want to. Because when someone consistently serves on you, protects you, provides, and makes you feel safe, you naturally want to love them well too. You naturally want to contribute and serve them back. And that's something feminism never taught me. Service isn't oppression when it's mutual. Love changes your perspective. Now, another thing that completely changed my beliefs was actually learning what happens in divorce. So I believe men left women with nothing, but women initiate approximately 70% of divorces in the US. This is Stanford sociologist Michael Rosenfeld's research on divorce initiation. That blew my mind. Now, does that mean women are wrong for leaving? Absolutely not. There are situations where divorce is necessary, like abuse, infidelity, and addiction. There are real reasons why people leave, but it completely challenged the narrative I had been taught, because if men are constantly abandoning women, why are women initiating most of the divorces? And another thing that challenged me was learning about family court. I'd always assumed fathers didn't want their children, that fathers just walked away, but then I started learning that many fathers desperately want access to their children. Many fathers fight for custody and they want to be involved, and yet family court often favors the mother. Not always, but majority of the time. And again, reality was much more complicated than the story I had been told. And then I started thinking about risk. Society constantly tells women marriage is risky for you, but it's actually very risky for men. Men risk their finances, their assets, access to their children if they have children with the woman they're marrying. They risk investing years of their lives into a relationship that might end. So when I started looking at things honestly, I realized marriage involves risks for both, not just women. And if we're being honest, provider and protector men often have a tremendous amount to lose. But that's why choosing wisely matters. The issue isn't marriage. The issue is choosing the wrong person. Because when you choose a healthy provider, protector man, you're not choosing someone who's trying to take from you. You're choosing someone who's trying to build with you. He's not trying to crush your dreams. He's trying to literally help you make them happen. And he's not trying to make you his shadow either. He's trying to create a life where both of you can flourish and grow. And the funny thing is that once I experienced that kind of relationship, now in my second marriage, so many of the things I used to resist started making sense. Like cooking, serving, supporting, building a home, not because I had to, but because I genuinely wanted to. Because healthy marriage isn't about keeping the score, it's about building something together. And that's the exact opposite of what society had taught me. Lie number 4, hyper-independence is empowerment. This is a huge one because my mom taught me hyper-independence. And again, not because she was trying to hurt me. She was coming from a place of fear, past hurts, trauma, disappointment, and experiences with men. And honestly, I think society pushes the exact same thing. The message is, don't need a man. Take care of yourself. Have your own money. Have your own plan. Have your own backup plan. Protect yourself at all costs. And if a man leaves, good. Sounds empowering, right? But looking back, a lot of that wasn't empowerment. It was fear. It was preparing for the end before it even started. And it was protecting myself from things that hadn't even happened yet. That's exactly how I lived. I had a secret stash of money. I had put everything in my name that I could, and I wanted control. I wanted independence. I wanted power, and I thought that those things would protect me. But what I didn't realize is that the beliefs you carry influence the men that you attract. When you're constantly saying, I don't need a man, I'll do it myself, I'll provide for me, I'll protect myself, I don't need a man to do that. Guess what kind of men show up? Men who are perfectly happy letting you do all of those things on your own. Men who want you to pay for dates. Men who want you to carry equal or greater financial responsibility. Men who want you to lead. Men who want you to make all of the decisions. And then you're frustrated, exhausted, stressed out, depressed because you're attracting exactly what you're communicating. That's why I was like, dang, I really did this to myself. That's what happened to me. I needed a provider protector, but I was communicating that I didn't need one, and I thought I really needed someone to control instead. I was communicating that I needed someone that was feminine, but I really wanted a masculine man. But I was operating almost entirely in my masculine, and then I wondered why I attracted a feminine man. I was creating that dynamic. Now, if that's the relationship you want, that's completely your choice. But it wasn't what I wanted. So after my divorce, I realized I wanted a protector. I wanted a provider. I wanted a man who genuinely enjoyed taking care of his family. And I wanted to stop unintentionally being a woman that would push someone like that away. And I learned that the difference between having an identity and making independence your identity. You can have dreams, you can have goals, you can have a business, you can have ambition, you can make your own money, and you can still build a life with someone. Those things are not opposites. You don't lose yourself by getting married to the right person. So I had to really change my mindset around that and realize that the right man wouldn't want to take away my dreams, and a provider or protector wants to help build them with me. And I had to realize that hyper-independence wasn't making me stronger, it was making me exhausted. I was trying to carry everything myself, and eventually that becomes a burden, not a strength. Line number 5, softness is weakness. This was probably the lie that kept me stuck the longest. I genuinely thought that femininity was a weakness. I thought softness and receiving was weak. I even thought stay-at-home moms and wives lacked ambition. Not that the women themselves were beneath me, but I definitely thought those roles were beneath me, and I never wanted that. Funny enough, now that's exactly what I'm working towards. That's exactly what I want now, and it's crazy to look back and see how much my thinking has changed. I don't know if you've ever heard women talk about getting their pink back, but honestly, and how it was never really about the color, it was about healing. Because when you've been hurt, traumatized, disappointed, abandoned, or you didn't have a healthy masculine leadership around you, you learn that you need to become the man. You need to provide, you need to protect, you need to carry everything, and you need to do it all yourself. And eventually, you start living almost entirely in your masculine. That was me. I thought femininity was weak, and I thought softness was not an option. I thought receiving wasn't an option, and allowing a man to lead was losing your power. Proverbs 31 describes a woman who is strong. She is respected, she's wise, she's generous, she's trusted, she's entrepreneurial, she buys land, she sells goods and manages her household. She's productive and feminine. Proverbs 31 woman is not weak. She is a woman of strength, and honestly, we're naturally creative. Women are natural nurturers and problem solvers. So that's why women become great entrepreneurs, because we see problems and we want to solve them. We see the needs and we want to meet them. Those are not weaknesses, and somehow along the way, society convinced us that masculine traits are the only traits worth celebrating, worth striving for. Stress, pressure, competition, responsibility, achievement, control, accolades. And if you spent years carrying all of that yourself and doing things yourself because you have no one else, you absolutely already know what I'm talking about. You know what it feels like. You already know what constant stress and responsibilities can do to you. Now, research shows that chronic stress impacts women physically, mentally, and emotionally. And honestly, most women don't need a study to tell them that. They feel it, they live it. Now, sometimes life does require you to step up. Sometimes you do have to provide and protect. Sometimes you're carrying more responsibility because that's the season that you're in. I've been there. But just because you can do something doesn't mean you're supposed to live in it forever. The biggest shift for me was realizing that femininity isn't weakness, it's one of my greatest strengths. And if you want a provider and protector husband, you cannot keep believing that softness is weakness. You cannot keep believing that femininity is your downfall. Because those beliefs are going to push away the exact type of man you're hoping to attract. And instead, you're going to keep attracting men that want you to lead. Men that want you to be the husband. They want you to carry the responsibility. And if that's what you want, my content is not for you. But my content is for women who want to get married and stay married to a protector and a provider man. And one of the biggest things I had to learn was that my femininity was never the problem. It was one of my greatest strengths. The problem was that I continued to believe what was told to me by society. So, if you need help with this, I do one-on-ones where we do a relationship intensive and I can teach you how to apply something to your personal life right now. And if you're more of a self-learner, well, I do have my course called Put Down the Sword, Pick Up Your Crown, where you can literally learn how to put down that masculinity, step into your feminine, step into your power, and really, if you're single, be in your singleness with intention, really learning how to step into yourself and be good with you before getting into a relationship, dating with intention, and then getting married and not losing yourself, and building a great foundation and complementing each other, finding that right husband for you. So I hope this helps. Share it with another woman you believe this could really speak to, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.